Thank you so much for joining in for our today's session on effective parenting. We have a very special coach today who's coming and who's going to take the session for us, Mrs. Kiranmai Chaudhary. I'd like to briefly introduce her to all the audience today and post that where she will come in and take the presentation for all the attendees and for us. So, Kiranmai Chaudhary is a visionary in the field of education and the founder of Sparkles Montessori Schools. Having been in the education field for about 3 decades now, Ms. Kiranmai has designed various textbooks, workbooks, and the entire curriculum for various international schools, apart from also conducting training on skill development. She is trained under Glenn Dorman, a pioneer in the field of education and training. In her pursuit to make the world a better place, she has conducted numerous workshops in well known MNCs on effective parenting. Thank you so much for joining in, ma'am. Very good afternoon.
Thank you for the introduction, Shiva.
My pleasure, ma'am. So, ma'am, the floor is open for you to take the presentation for all our attendees.
Thank you, Shiva. So, a very warm welcome to all of you. I can't see anybody, but I'm hoping all of you are present here and listening to me. So, why don't you all type hi in the message chat box so that I know who's here. Neeraj, good afternoon, Neeraj. Hi, Chandrasekhar. Hi, Ati Sujata. Oh, wow. That's wonderful. I feel energized now, seeing all your highs, hellos, and good afternoons. Thank you so much for saying that, Sharmila Abhishek. Okay.
And ma'am, before we move in, I have a small announcement to make with your permission. So from the previous session, we started giving out a gift voucher for the most active participant in the session. So just wanted to announce that the most active participant in this session will also get an Amazon voucher for ₹500. So we are looking at everybody who's typing in the chat box, interacting with the presenter, and also giving us some good feedback. So looking forward.
So that is what I also wanted to tell the participants, that I want to keep this session interactive. So keep posting responses in the chat when I ask something, and come whenever you're given a chance, come on video and have an interaction.
Absolutely.
So that's what is my request for today. Another request I have is, parents, you could be listening to this webinar. When you heard about the webinar, you must have had a lot of thoughts in your mind. Some of you must have wondered what it is all about. And my request to you is, come and listen to this from stand of what is the value that I can take away from here that will make a difference to my life and my child's life. I want you to look at it from that angle. So how many of, and I request all of you to keep your questions, queries all at the end. Park them. We call it the parking lot. Have a notepad and a pen where you write parking lot and you park all your questions there. At the end, if those questions are not answered, we have a half an hour session for Q&As. You can always ask. Yeah. Right. So let me start with a question. How many of you like stories? How many of you like stories? Type yes in the chat box if you like stories. Very much. Yes. Very good. I think most of us love stories. I love stories. So, and there is the research which has been done which says that there is 100% retention when anything is told in the form of a story. So I love telling stories and listening to stories. So let me begin with a story. This is a story of two children, Raj and Pooja. They are two children from two different families. Raj is a 13-year-old boy. And before the pandemic, he was a very amicable, outgoing child who loves playing sports, hanging out with friends. He loved chatting with his family members. I mean, he was the kind who, if he entered a room, he would bring life into that room. You know that kind of people, right? I'm getting goosebumps when I talk about him also. And then there was Pooja. She's a 7-year-old girl who was very artistic, sweet-natured girl, very soft-spoken and attached to her grandmother. She was kind, loving, you know, that kind of child also, right? All of us would have had some Pooja either in our home or around us. And she would help everybody around, and she would help people beautify the house by gifting them her artwork. That was the kind of child that she was. Now, once the pandemic hit, there was a gradual shift in these two children. Within a year, both their parents and grandparents were flabbergasted. They didn't know what to do because Raj had suddenly turned into a very unsocial person. He would hardly talk to people. He would remain in his room for hours together, and he would prefer sometimes to even he would even take his meals to his room and have it. He was mostly on his phone, on his laptop, always in his own world. Like it was as if others didn't exist for him, and as if he didn't exist for the others. And Pooja, on the other hand, she had become very aggressive. From that soft-spoken, sweet child, she's become aggressive. She hardly did any artwork and used to sit prompt in front of the television all the time. And if anybody refused to allow her to watch, she would throw tantrums. Can you imagine what a shift that was? Now, the parents and grandparents did everything they could think of. They bought them gifts, they took them for trainings, they took them out. They did what, I mean, pandemic time, you can't take them out, but they made them attend training. They did whatever they could. And what we found was these two children from with different temperaments, first thing, born in different families, brought up in different environments and backgrounds. They have changed because of the circumstances around them. See, if you look at the news that we watch, we adults watch news, right? And during pandemic, it was always about so many people died, so many people were in hospital. Those were the things which were. So the news we watched, the events that were happening around them, there were children whose parents lost their jobs, parents whose businesses went down, they were going through financial. So all these, so the COVID environment had played havoc with these children. So that is where they were at the end of the pandemic, at the end of a year. And first, let me get around to introducing myself. I know Shiva has already done that, but I'd like to tell you a little bit more about myself. I'm Kiran Mai, founder director of Sparkles Montessori. I've been a teacher and educationist and education consultant for an UK-based and US-based companies, and a parent who has turned into a parent, trainer, and coach. Now, this field of children and education has been my passion for more than 30 years now. I love children. Anything to do with children, I say I'm in. And I have this very bad habit of telling parents and teachers, you are here in front of me because of the children. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to look at you. That's a mean thing to do, but it's just for fun. Okay. So I'm also, personally, I'm a mother of two wonderful sons and grown-up children, of course, two wonderful sons and a lovely daughter, and grandmother to a 2-year-old adorable grandson called Aya. Now, my daughter just left for the US to do her higher studies, and all of your parents here know how it is. It's a bittersweet feeling when your child leaves. You want them to do well, but at the same time, you leave a part of your heart out there. It's like leaving a part of your piece of your heart at the airport, and then you say, okay, fly away and jar, Simran jar, ji le apni zindagi, kind of. And then when you come back home, you know you're not the same person. So,
ma'am, you can take a moment if you want.
Yeah.
There's no hurry.
I'm good. Now, having been a parent for the past 37 years now, my son is 37, elder son, the one who has given me a lovely grandson. And raising these three amazing children, I have also been to US to take care of my grandson and going through the journey of parenthood. Also, having been a teacher and a consultant, I've interacted with thousands of children and their parents. I've come to know about the challenges they are facing, how they are so stuck, they don't know what to do. And I was wondering for quite some time, what is it? Why is it so? What is the difference that I can make to these children and parents? Because parents and children are so closely connected. They impact one another, their moods, their emotions impact one another. If the parent is happy, child is usually happy. And if the child is happy, we are happy, right? So I kept wondering, what is it? What can I do to impact these parents and through them, their child, so that they can have a beautiful life that they deserve? And I realized what was missing. So if you look at all of us, I think some of you are engineers, some of you, most of you here are in corporate, so you must be engineers. I'm assuming HR. But whatever you are, whether you're an engineer, doctor, lawyer, anything that you are, to become that, you have undergone years of training, right? But for the most important role in our life as parents, there is no training, there's no course. We just become parents by accident, sometimes, or sometimes by choice. And then we use trial and error methods. We try this method. If it works, if it doesn't work, then we say, okay, let me try this. Let me try. You keep trying different methods. By the time you realize this might be the right thing to do, your children are already grown up. So then I decided that what is required is school for parents. And that is how we have Bhavna and me. Bhavna, can you say hi to everybody?
Hello,
She's
everybody.
Bhavna, my partner. And we decided to start a school called the Happy Family School. But because we realized that training parents, coaching them is important. But when you look at parents of pre-teens and teens, they also need some help. So that is how we started the Happy Family. And we decided that we need to understand the pain points of parents, children, and empower them to create happiness. See, because what do all of us want? We want happiness, right? We want oneness. We want to be one with the togetherness in the family. So, like, I'm very lucky, I say, because all my children are in the US. But I know every single thing that happens in their life. They keep getting me there. They say, come down, spend time with us. They want to talk to me. My daughter's left, and every single day, morning and evening, sometimes I tell her, okay, enough. You go and do what you have to do over there. So that is the bond. Now, tell me how many grown-up children want to spend time, talk to their children, share with them. Not too many these days, because they're so seeped into their own life. They're so into their own life, into social media, they're with their friends. And so what we want to create is happiness and oneness and a bond that lasts forever. When your children are young, they are bonded to you. They need you, so they're always mama, daddy, they're always with us. But as they grow older, so that is what we want. So now coming back to Raj and Pooja. In the 6 months that we've been working with Raj and Pooja, in the last 2 weeks, Raj has started socializing again. He's getting back to his sports. He's understood the importance of well-being, togetherness in the family. He started taking responsibility. In fact, not only for his health, but also he's taken responsibility, or he initiates family to get-togethers, to come together for dinner and other things. And since the past 1 month, Pooja's parents and grandparents have seen such a change in her. She's slowly started getting back to her art. She throws less tantrums. It's not completely gone, but she throws less tantrums. Now she takes time to talk to her grandmother every day. And she started learning new art forms. And another beautiful initiative the 7-year-old girl has started is she wants to do something to help other children. So she's trying to, with her father's support, she's trying to sell her art work so that she can support raising funds for an NGO that supports orphans. Isn't that a beautiful thing? So how many of you want to know how this became possible? How many of you want to know how this became possible? Type yes if you want to know. Yes, I am. Yes, very nice. Great. Wonderful. Another Pooja. Lovely. So then let me tell you. Now what we identified is there are many impacts of the pandemic, out of which we have only 1 hour in the session. So I picked up 3 things which I would like to talk to you about. 3 problems that children are generally facing. One is digital addiction. Then we have emotional imbalance, and then we have cognitive impairment. Let's start with digital addiction. Now, were gadgets not there before the pandemic? Of course, we had gadgets. We all had the problem of children spending too much time on gadgets, on digitalization, so much. But the problem has increased multifold now because children had their classes also on laptops, and they had more access. They could always go off camera and try to do whatever they want to do. So this is what happened with Raj. Now, he was a very sporty person. He loved to play games. He loved to interact with his friends. Physically, he was not able to meet them. He was not able to play sports. And it became so, he started missing all this so much that to make up for it, he started playing games online. He started using social media a lot, connecting with friends, making new friends on social media. And that was what was impairing his development. So research shows that India stands second in the world with 500 million internet users, and out of which many are teens and preteens. So what do we do to address this? Now, some of the things is that we could do are giving our children separate digital time. Now, most of us as parents, we know our children have to attend online classes. At least we had to till recently. But what did we do? We said only classes, nothing else. You cannot do anything else on the laptop or phone or whatever. But the best thing to do is give them a separate time. Okay, this is your study time, your class time, whatever. And this you could use as sit with them, talk to them, and with them you create that. This is the time that you could have your whatever you want to do. And that could be limited. So, and another very important thing is right from the beginning, have parental controls. I know it is difficult. Parents, children will rebel. They will say, no, we don't want to do. But have parental controls. And even if you do it, if the child doesn't know, let them know that you have parental controls. Why do we want to tell them? Because children learn honesty, integrity, transparency through us, through our actions. When we are telling them that I have parental controls, we are showing them these things. So that is very, very important. Don't try to do things, check on children behind their backs. There are parents who say, okay, I left the child at home. I will suddenly go and surprise them and see what they're doing. Maybe their friends have come. Don't do that. See, children, if they want to do things, parents, they will do it anyhow. If not at your house, they will do it at somebody else's house. But if you have an open communication with them, they will feel free to do it. And they will also come back to you. When my sons were growing up, especially my sons, I remember all their group meetings used to happen in my house. Because they knew I wouldn't be judging them or stopping them. I would tell them only one thing: whatever you do it in moderation. That was my mantra to them. I said, moderation, nothing happens. So we have to have that open communication and be honest and transparent with them as to what is our expectation. So first, we first spread awareness about why children get addicted to gadgets or social media. Now, all of you who have children must have given chocolates to your children some time or the other. And most of you would have had children who love chocolates, toffees, and every time you want them to do something, especially the younger ones, it's okay, you finish your homework, I'll give you a chocolate. You go to school without crying, I'll give you chocolates or whatever they like. Why? Why do they do this? Because chocolate is something which gives the children a high. It gives them a high. Why? Because it releases a happy hormone called dopamine. And social media also does the same thing. When dopamine is released, they get a very happy feeling. So dopamine up to a certain level is very good. All of us need it. Because whatever gives us pleasure, whatever gives us happiness, we should be doing that. But children derive so much pleasure from watching reels, videos on social media, posts. Getting comments gives them a high. Getting compliments gives them a high. And this adds to their dopamine. That is why they are there. We should realize that. So when we know that this is what is happening, this is why our children are on social media, the best thing for us to do is accept, okay, this is what it is. And then look at what are the other things that our children love, which gives them a high. There are children who love reading books, which is a slightly rarer breed today. There are children who love listening to music. There are so many things. There are children who love sports, like Raj did. So try to make them do those things instead of this. Another thing, I remember when my children were young. Now I'm going to share a lot of experience because I have a 37-year-old son, 35-year-old son, and a 26-year-old daughter. So I'll be sharing my experiences because I've done some good things, some bad things also. I mean, bad in the sense I've made some mistakes along the way. A lot of mistakes, in fact, along the way. So when my sons were younger, they used to love cricket, and I couldn't understand the C of cricket. ABC of cricket, I couldn't understand. And I used to find it most anything addictive, I used to be against it. So I felt people were so addicted to cricket, I never saw it. But then when my children once asked me to sit down, I said, okay, this will help me bond with them. And I actually sat down and watched. And you won't believe it, parents, the way my children they were so excited to see me and sitting with them and watching the game. They explained to me how the game is, LBW, whatever, how they get out. And I started enjoying it. So try to get into your child's world, see what they like, and try to get to know more about it so that you can spend time with them doing what they love doing. We as parents want our children should read books, so we want them to read. They should do this. There's no should about it. Today, children have a lot of options. We have to look at from those options what would be good for them. From those options, even cricket might not be the best of things, but they learn so much from that game also. So anything that they want to do, there's nothing completely bad about any particular thing. You have to realize that. Even social media, even gadgets, they will learn something on it. But it's the only thing is moderation is the key. So how do we get them to moderate? So because if you suddenly stop them and say, no, you cannot touch the social media or gadgets, you are depriving them of dopamine, and they might even have something which we call as withdrawal symptoms. Those of you who smoke, I hope you all don't, because it's very bad for health, but those of you who smoke, those of you who drink regularly a lot, you will know that if you suddenly give up smoking, you will get withdrawal symptoms. I've heard of people who start shivering. They have all kinds of withdrawal symptoms. And there is a possibility that children, if they are kept away from this, suddenly, if they are completely made to stop it, they might even get into depression, might severely impact their well-being. So don't completely ask them to stop this. Instead, try to replace it little by little. I'm not saying you should at once replace this with something else. Now, educating this to Raj parents, working with Raj, and we made him list down all the things that he loves apart from social media. And that is how we were able to help Raj and his parents get him back to his old self. Partly. I'm not saying he's completely there, but slowly he's getting there. So some of the examples that I can give is listening to music, learning art forms, gardening, even petting an animal also gives many people hype. They love animals. Painting, drawing, reading books. So there are so many activities out there. Different people, different strokes for different people. So another very important thing, parents, is we need to be a role model. Let's say I'm sitting at the dining table with this, and I'm talking to my children and saying, okay, yeah. Okay, why are you doing that? Put that aside. Don't talk to your friends. Don't chat with your friends. First finish your food. But I'm doing this. Will that help? No. I'm setting an example here that, so I think everybody should do this. Take your phone, put it on charge somewhere in there, on silent, and I think 15-20 minutes all of us can spend without the phone. Nobody is going to, you're not going to lose 1 crore of rupees if you keep it away, right? So if we can keep it away and we set an example that everybody, let's keep our phones away when we are eating, that becomes a culture, the tradition in your house, that when you come to eat, you put it away. Because unless you do it, you are not setting an example, and your children say, when you can do it, why can't I? Today, children are not the kind who say, okay, my mom is doing, but I will not do it because she's saying. They're not that kind. They will question you. So first you try how to replace your social addiction. If you have any addictions, you see how you can replace it with something else. Maybe you could have an interaction. You could have, there are so many things you can do with your family when you're having your meals also. Like one person can share something that happened in the day, or they can say, okay, guess whom I met today? Anything like a quiz. They can describe that person and others can try to guess. There could be so many fun things you could do together as a family. So what will you do today to replace your dopamine activity? Or are you willing to do something today, one thing today to replace your dopamine activity? Type I will in the chat box if you will do it. Today, after this is over, when you get back home today, how many of you will start with something? Okay, sure. Okay, that's great. So, and see the impact, parents. I'm really telling you, you'll be amazed at the impact. It will not happen overnight. It's not like today I put my phone aside, I want my children to put. No, they will not do that. Please don't have unrealistic expectations, but it will happen. Now, coming to the other major impact of COVID has been on the emotional well-being of the child. Now, when you look at why emotional well-being, let's look at the stress. So, stress in small doses is normal. All of us are used to stress, right? But ongoing stress for a period of 2 years has a lasting impact on our bodies as well as on our minds. And when we are stressed, a lot of things happen, like our muscles tense, our heartbeat increases, our breathing increases, and blood pressure also increases. And what happens is our body produces a hormone called cortisol to help regulate these responses. And cortisol also, though it's a hormone which is good for stress, too much of that is also harmful, which might lead to decrease in your lifespan also. That is what it can be. Now, what is important for us to do is that at such times it is important for us, very critical, to reflect on what is it? What is my level of stress today? What are the things that are stressing me out? Make a list of all the things that are stressing you out. Because sometimes you think, oh, there are so many. But when you write down, you might find there are only 7, 8, 10, whatever number. So putting them down is very important. And then you recognize that these are the stresses. Look at what is the unreal fear or unrealistic things that are stressing you out. Strike them out. Then look at that. Once you acknowledge that this is where I am, and this is how the stress is making me feel, that is a very important place to be in. Why? I'll give you an example. A story, again, I'm very fond of stories. A man was going on a street, and he was going to another place, and he wanted to reach there by, and in the morning he had a very big deal, a 1 crore deal which he had to sign. And he was driving, and as he was driving, there was a thunderstorm. Trees started falling, and somehow he managed to, and because of all this, he got very late, and it became late night by the time he could not even reach the place. He had come to a crossroads, and he was lost because he didn't know where to go. It was raining cats and dogs, and he didn't know which way to go. There were so many paths leading different ways. And unfortunately, there was a, signboard, but it had fallen down and it was falling and rolled away to the corner of the road. And he didn't know what to do. So what do you think you should do with this? Has anybody heard this before? This particular problem before? My son is born. Somebody says, yeah, no, yeah. So what do you think we should do? Can we have some answers? Does anybody know what we could do? If anybody knows, say yes. Okay, signboard properly. But I don't know. Let's say there is one which says Goa, one which says some other city. And so when there are 3 cities showing, how will I know? Yes, Sriram. We know where we are coming from, right? Let's say I'm going from Hyderabad. So I can put Hyderabad in place, all the other directions will fall into place. So that is to say that we should know where we are coming from, where we are, and then decide on which direction to take to reach where we want to reach. So that's very important. So parents' awareness of where we are is a very, very important thing that you should be doing. So let's do an activity now. Bhavna, can you put up this activity? Now, if you want to reduce stress, there are so many things you can do. Now, if you see, there are 9 pictures here. And in every row, you'll find there is something similar. 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3, and even diagonally, there's something similar. What do you think is similar in these 3 people? You can type in the chat box. All 3 of them have? All 3 of them have headphones. Then the next row, all 3 of them have drink, yes. Then in this row, they all have. So if you look at this, In each row, isn't this an interesting activity to do? Imagine if you had something like this and you were playing it with your children. Any age child can play it. We are also interested, right, to play these games. So it is important for us to think of what we can do. Each time you can, it need not necessarily be something to do with a book or a paper. It could be something else also. But we must be doing such activities with our children, with the entire family, where we are getting bonded, we are having fun. Because what happens is, if stress levels increase and we are impacted, so then the negative experiences that we have a stronger impact on us than the positive experiences. It is said that as human beings, our brain is designed such that the negative responses stick to our minds. And then when they stick to our mind, we lose sight of the positive experiences we have had. Because evolutionarily speaking, it is the truth. Because early man had to remember the negative experiences. Oh, when I do this, this animal will come and eat me. And when I do this, so they had to live, to survive, they had to do. So that's a part of human nature. But the good news is that we can actively change this in our lives. We can consciously make a difference and try to remember the positive experiences. But before that, let me give you an example. Let's say, take parents, for example, husband and wife. Your wife might have done so many things for you, and then she did something which was not so good. Maybe she spoke rudely to your friend, or she did something. With that in mind, you will forget everything good that she did. She will only remember, how could she do this? How could she? And then there is it. So imagine if we as adults who know can be like that. How about your children? You might have given up your entire life for your children. My mother had left her job. She used to keep, people used to keep telling me, oh, your mother left your job for you. So, but when the parent does something or says something which the child doesn't like, then the child remembers only that. They will not think, oh, my mother did so many wonderful things. Like when I was young, I used to be selected for every basketball match. I used to be selected for NCC camps, but my mother would never send me saying, oh, you're a girl, you can't do that, there'll be boys there. And I used to hate my life as a girl. I used to think, why was I born a girl? And I used to get so angry with my mother. Why is she doing this to me? I never remembered that she left her job for me at that time. I never remembered that she makes all kinds of goodies for me at home. But I only remember that she's not allowing me to have this opportunity which I have. Right? So we have to remember and actively make an effort. And one of the things we can do, parents, is we can, like I said, we can train our minds to overpower some of the negatives and take our mind towards positives, and we can do it for our children too. One of the things that you and your child can do is start writing a gratitude journal or a happy journal. It could be a happiness journal. So anything that gave you happiness in that day, anything that you're grateful for in that, every single day, write down something. Whenever you feel low, just open it. You will feel so happy. I write a happiness. I have a happiness journal, which I write. Whenever I'm feeling low, I open it and I'm like, oh, this day Ayan did this. Oh, this day Priya did this. Or whoever. It could be one of my teachers in my school who did something. Could be a helper in my school or my home who did something. Anything that makes me grateful to somebody for. Anything that makes me, somebody made me happy or something made me happy. So this is what we need to do. And another thing that COVID has done, that research says that speech-related problems have doubled during the COVID times because children don't have enough exposure to talking. Recently, I had a call from a parent who said the child is 3.5 and the child can't speak at all. She said because nobody speaks in the house. The parents are very busy. The grandmother doesn't speak much as it is. I know the grandmother. And parents are busy because they have their own work schedule. Morning till night they are. Nowadays, I think all of you know that COVID time, many of you have been morning till night, you have been logged into your laptop. So that's what happened. And the child cannot speak at all now. So it's important to create a social circle, communication for your child. You must also be communicating with your child. It's not just creating a social circle. And even if you're not a person who speaks much, make an effort. Think of what are things. And see, most of us have this habit of asking when a child comes from school, and this I'm talking about even non-COVID times. What did you do at school today? Patent question that every parent asks. It's such a boring question. You could ask something different, like, hey, what did your friends do today? What did you all do, friends? Did you play some game? Or did somebody help you? with something, or did you help somebody? Was there something interesting that happened today? Imagine if you ask that, child will start thinking in a different way. What did you do at school today? Nothing. Most children say that. And we think, why are they saying nothing? Oh, didn't they do? There are parents who come to our school. Ma'am, they're saying nothing. I said, change your question. I tell my parents, or parents of our school, please change your question. They have done a lot of things. And once they change the question, children have started coming up with so many things. It's amazing. Even a 3-year, 4-year-old child, the kind of stories they go home and tell about what happened, it's amazing. So you need to change, parents. It's not the child. And you could create, let's say, a weekend getaway. Many of you must be planning getaways now that COVID has happened. I mean, COVID has sort of calmed down. And during the weekends, you could also have, if you are living in an apartment or communities, you could have all the children at the same time coming together so that they can communicate with each other. Because peer group is also very important. So in the case of Pooja, what happened was the uncertainty of the pandemic had increased her levels of stress in her family. And when she saw the stress in her parents and grandparents and everybody, this confused Pooja so much that her emotional well-being was impacted. That is why she wanted to be away from things. So sitting in front of the TV, she didn't have to think. She just had to watch. So that's why we rightly call it the idiot box, because it stops our thinking process. Did you know that? I think all of you know that TV is called the idiot box. They say conversation is not lost. I had read somewhere when I was in school. Conversation is not lost. It is hidden behind the TV screen. Because when you're in front of the TV, all conversation is lost. You're just with the mouths open, we are all watching. So through the parent, I mean, we have worked with the parents, and the parents also understood them. But see, even if it's a 7-year-old child, it's important that you communicate to them what's happening. If you're not talking and the child is just listening, not knowing where it's going, the father had lost his job, and there was a lot going on, and she was like, she didn't know where to go. She didn't know whom to talk to. So once that communication started, that created an emotional balance for her. And she was able to calm down and get back to her old sweet self. Third impact of COVID is cognitive impairment. Are we done? But I think time's up. Give me another few minutes.
Ma'am, we're not done. We have 30 more minutes.
Q&As, right? So
No, we have 30 more minutes for the presentation and another 30 minutes for Q&A.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, 3:30, right? I somehow we got in at 3, so okay, then I'm good to go. Okay, third is the cognitive impairment that's set in children. If you look at, learning has come down by 45% of children in urban areas and 60% of children in rural areas in the past 2 years. Imagine what a great impact. Children have fallen back by at least a year, if not 2 years, in their learning skills. So the major impact why this has happened in children is because they are so connected to the virtual world that they're finding it difficult to connect to the real world in the first place. Now, when I ask you, all of you clap, what will you do? Clap, everybody clap. You will immediately go to that icon and click on that clap. But most of us don't do this today. When I say thumbs up, you don't do this. You click on that icon. Raise your hand, you don't do this. You click on it. So we have got so connected to the virtual world that you literally clap. That's great. So most of us who have been so much screen time we've had that we have forgotten what it is. So it is very difficult to get back to normal now for many of us. The emotional connection is also lost because everything is, you message, you are at home, your boss writes a mail, you mail back. Your colleague sends a message, you message back. So that emotional connect is also reduced a lot. So to get them from the virtual world into the real world, it takes some time because 2 years they've got used to this. It takes some time. And another thing that has taken a beating is integrity. For most children today, it's become like it's okay to copy. Because most of the time when we are having exams or anything online, children have just gone off and they've copied. So it's become a normal thing for them to copy. So integrity is gone for a toss. They think it is okay. Many children, they switch off their cameras and they do what they want to do. They go through their social networking sites. They do so many things other than what they are supposed to do. So these are some of the challenges that children are facing. And now many of our children are going back to school. While going back to school also, there might be a lot of concerns for your child to go back to school. Like, for example, your child, whatever the age, depending on the age, there might be different concerns, but one could be, oh, I have to get up early morning and I have to go at a particular time. Because when you're at home, you are only seen till here. So you just have to wash your face and wear something good on top, and that was enough. But today you have to really get ready and go there physically to school. So that is a challenge. Second is, will I get my same friends? Will my friends still be there at school? Will my old teachers be at school? Will my new teacher like me or not for the new year? Will my friends still connect with me or not? There are so many things. Or will my friends have become friends with somebody else? So many concerns they will have at the back of their mind when going to school, that we have to understand. I'm not saying we can do anything about it, but we can help them to verbalize it, talk to them about it. Of course, to bring cognitive development, the learning and development of the child, school plays a major role. But what can we as parents do to make sure that our children are up to mark, are at least getting there, or to know where our children are today, so that we can, like we said, we need to know where we are now. So where are our children today to take them forward? We could also play a part. Why only leave it to school? So one of the things is, you can lay a foundation for this transition by setting a routine, a structure for yourself and for your children. What do we mean by that? Right now, we sleep at any time, we wake up at any time. Just somehow you freshen up and go and sit in front of the laptop. But even if during the summer vacation, you could have a set a routine where you say, okay, every day. Now, let's say right now, everybody's sleeping at 12 o'clock. You can't say from today we'll sleep at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. That won't happen overnight. You could say, okay, let us sleep half an hour before this time. Maybe instead of 12, we go to 11:30 and wake up half an hour earlier than we are waking up. Like that, slowly, if you transition, it becomes easy for everybody. It becomes doable. It is sustainable. Otherwise, it's not sustainable. Maybe 1 day, 2 days, your children will wake up early and sleep early, but it's not going to be sustainable in the long run. So slowly, you make them get into that habit. Another thing for cognitive development is, when you, like I said, we need to know where our children are. So those of you parents who are really interested to know, okay, where is my child? CBSE has introduced an essential concepts document. It's called the essential concepts document. You can refer to this and look at, okay, these are the concepts that my child should know. What does my child know? You can talk to the teacher about this. Talk to your child's teacher about this. So that from awareness, instead of just saying, oh, where is my child? My child doesn't know anything. So that, okay, these are things. What does my child know? Imagine, how do you think the teacher would interact with that kind of parent? Wow. The parent is so concerned. They know what it is. And the parent would also get together and say, okay, these are the concepts the child already knows. These are something we will work on. And together, you can make a difference to the child. Remember, it's always together. It's never about one person taking on the entire thing. Then also, we need to focus on skill development. You have set a routine. You have looked at where your child is. You need to focus also on skill development, because every school will give so much of knowledge. Every school, right? We'll have to admit that it's a knowledge bank that we are giving to our children. Every school gives that. But how well the child is able to grasp that knowledge, how long the child can retain that knowledge, will depend on the skills that the child has. Skills like concentration skill, observation skill, listening skill, communication skill. There are more than 100 skills which your child needs to develop. Did you even know that? Thinking is also, in thinking also there are different types of thinking, diverse thinking, visual thinking. So different skills. And in a school, they can give so much. But how about we also working on giving those skills to our children? Because when children have the skills, they find it very easy to grasp anything and retain. So let's do an activity on skills. Bhavna? Now I'm going to show you a picture. Just have a look at it, everybody. Yes, lateral thinking also, Chandrasekhar. Everybody look at this carefully. Bhavna, keep this for 30 seconds. Yeah. So can we have the questions, Bhavna? Can you answer these questions about the playground you just saw? Yeah. Can you put up the questions, Bhavna? Or you can ask them.
Kiran, do you want any one person to answer it or in the chat box?
They can answer in the chat box.
Okay, yeah.
How many people were jumping rope? Okay, one girl. Very good. Yeah, quite a lot of you got it. Was anyone playing hopscotch? Okay. Most of you are saying no. Okay. Next. How many adults were on the playground? Only one adult? Sure. I'm trying to confuse you. Yeah. Where did the bird sit? Where did the bird sit? Left side. Somebody said jungle gym. Yes. Yes, pull-ups. Yes, on the steel frame. Yes, very good. Wonderful. Next. How many girls did you see? Okay. Some say one, some say two. Yeah. Is that all, Bhavna? Is it? Who wore an orange? Okay, there are. I can't see because of the. Okay. Give me a minute. Who wore an orange shirt on the side? A boy or a girl? Everybody's saying a boy. Okay. Wonderful. Now, isn't this a lovely activity to do with the family, parents? Wouldn't you love to do this kind of things with your family members? Imagine if all of you were sitting together and you could do something like this. Like I said, these are only a few activities I'm giving you. So let's look at another activity. Bhavna, can we have the activity on? Okay. So now, parents, can you tell me how many squares are there in this? Okay, 16, somebody said 26, 17, 14, plus 1, 21. Okay, got that. Got it. Now let's look. Bhavna, can you keep clicking? 25, 26, 27. Okay. Can we start counting? 1. There are 16, yes. Then there is 17 right in the center. Then you have. Go ahead, Bhavna. Then you have. You've clicked too many. Can you go back?
Sorry, just give me a second. Sorry. Yeah. Just give me a second.
Sure.
Yeah. We begin now.
Yeah, 16 are the small squares. Then we have, you have 17, 18, 19, 20, all 4 sides. Then you have 21 right at the center. Then you have 22, 23, 24, 25. Then you have the bigger size 26, 27, 28, 29. And the whole thing is also a square, 30. Now, it doesn't matter how many we counted. But with this one activity, what we are developing is, we are developing visual thinking, concentration, observation skills. Visual thinking because they have to visualize the squares in different places, in different ways, right? So like this, there are hundreds and thousands of activities, parents, available. In fact, I have designed a program called the Winning Edge, in which we do only skill development for children from different schools. And children, we have had one of our students who's gone to the Guinness Book of World Records for his memory also. I'm not saying that we have done it. I'm saying it's the parent who works with the child. So always remember, parent and teacher together, we make a difference. Parents and teacher together make a difference, is what I will say. So also, like I told you before, don't get over ambitious with anything, parents. If you continuously do activities, also children will get bored. And don't look at only what you like doing or what you think the child will like doing. You must look at, sometimes allow the child to choose. Okay, what shall we do? Like I told you, I used to watch cricket because my children wanted to. So ask them, what do you want to do? And do that. They'll feel so happy. They'll feel so validated that what I want is important. Because remember that teaming up with your children and doing things together, not only it builds a bond, but it gets in your children's trust and they look up to you. Now, let's say, for example, you have decided that this is how it's going to be. We are going to wake up at a particular time. We are going to do this. And sometimes you don't do it. Be vulnerable. Tell them. Let your child hold you responsible when you have not done something. Be each other's accountability partners. Because children today, whatever their age, you think, oh, he's so young, what will he know? They love to do that. Imagine if you make them responsible for waking you up, saying that I have a meeting at so and so time, so every day I have to get up at so and so time, and somehow I'm getting a little late. So could you help me out? Imagine how the child feels. So important. So like such an important part of your life who's making a difference to your life. So we always talk about which is the best university in the world. Which is the best university in the world, parents? According to you. If there's no right or wrong answer for this, of course. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. So I call it the mother's lap. Because when your children are young and yes, home is for all children, any ages, but for a very young child, that is where, because when you are reading to your child also, I always tell parents, put your child in your lap and read to them. Then as they grow older, read with them. Because what happens when your child is in your lap, your attention is mostly there. You're establishing that bond with your child, that connection with your child. So everything boils down to connections, communication. Only then the bonding comes, and only then everything falls into place. I always tell parents and teachers one thing: love doesn't make the world go round. Love makes everything fall into place. If there is love, unconditional love, automatically, if not today, tomorrow, will get it, and they will do what they should be doing. Today, maybe you're finding certain problems, but then we have to realize that each child at different ages are facing their own challenges because of which they are behaving in a particular way. Now, also, we can do simple activities together at home. Make them responsible for certain things at home. You don't have to do everything that is to be done. It's not like, oh, I'm the mother, I'm the father, I have to do it. No, you can give your children something. Now, let's say many of us are planning holidays. I've heard that many of the parents, at least in our school, they said they're planning to go on holiday somewhere. So when you're going on a holiday, one of the wonderful things you could do is give your child the budget, give your child and let your child make the itinerary. Let your child choose. Maybe you all could come up with a few places and say, okay, you choose and create the itinerary in this budget. It's a great learning for the child. All these will help the child to such an extent. Now, there was this activity that one of the schools I know we had done for the children. There is the children had to make an itinerary. They had learned about the world, different places, the currencies, everything that the climate, everything, and they were made to create an itinerary to go to 5 different countries. They had to make a list of all the things that they would take there. What is the means of transport they would use to go there, what currency were they going to take and how much of that currency would they take? What are the things they wanted to buy there? Which places did they want to visit there? All those things they have to make it as a part of their itinerary and their planning for that trip. So it's so beautiful. It can be hypothetical. It could be a real trip that you're planning also, where you give your children the opportunity to do that. Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing to do? Minute by minute planning. And we put aside digital, we say, okay, our children are getting addicted to digital media and all that. But there are certain things that if you think that your child is too attached to digital and they're playing games on it, try to make it more on the learning side. There are so many learning sites which give us these games to learn things. So you could introduce to them to that. But again, parents, again and again, I'm telling you, please, 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 for heaven's sake, don't overdo it. Bhavna was sharing about some. Bhavna, you want to share about that child?
Yeah, who learned tables. So
tables, the girl in your dance class.
Yeah. So parents, so I, like Kiran was sharing, I'm a Kuchipudi dancer and I hang out with children around all ages from 4 until 21. So there was this 12-year-old kid who loved maths. Now children liking maths is something new. What did their parents do is, apart from her schooling, evening, she has one extra class for maths and she has an Olympiad class and she has a lot of apps on her phone which are about learning more math. Now, I get that she loves math. But you know the thing she told me as soon as she came to the class, she said, Akka, I love math and I told my parents and I regret that. Now they have put me in so many math classes that I don't feel like doing maths at all now. What do you want me to do? I felt so sorry for her. Imagine a kid who fell in love with maths. The parents were so over ambitious. They said, let me make her learn everything. And they made her entire day about mathematics. Now that poor little kid really doesn't want to stick with maths. She's like, I don't want to do it anymore. So it's very, see, there are two sides of examples. One is where she loves math and the parents overdid and she doesn't want. And there's this other kid who didn't want to learn maths at all. She came saying, I don't want to learn tables. It doesn't get into my head. We put an app in the phone which we said maybe you could try with this. The next day, to our surprise, she started telling from knowing 0 tables to until 6 table. She told all the tables. Like, me and the parents were like crazily shocked. What is happening? So they're at both the ends. Learning through digital is great, but don't make it to an extent that your child really doesn't like it. The girl didn't go tell her mom at home this, but she was so upset about it. She said, I'm doing it because it makes my parents happy, but I'm so tired of doing it.
Thank you for sharing that, Bhavna. So parents, anything, like I used to tell my children, in moderation is great. Even Amrutam, over of Amrutam is also poison, becomes poison, they say. So Amrutam is nectar from the gods, they say. That also, too much of it becomes poison. So don't give too much of anything, is what I would say. Now, I think the time's up and we have to start our Q&A round. But before that, there are a lot of such, there's so much more I want to say, actually, frankly speaking, so much more I want to give you all. But we can't do that right now. So maybe, Bhavna, you could talk to them about maybe joining.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, Bhavna, please.
Yeah, all I want to let them know is, like Kiran shared about the Happy Family School that we are launching, it is all about contributing to a lot of parents and children in how they can develop themselves. So we started the social media handles right now, like we are still building on the social media. Kiranmai has her own social media platform where we do a lot of stuff. Like you can see the Instagram page of Kiranmai that I'm showing on my screen, we do so many reels, so many inputs that we give, simple hacks, simple tips that you can have. Like, I know in 1 hour we could not give everything, but hanging with our social media pages is something that will really let you be associated with us and get a lot more tips that we give on a daily basis regarding the activities, various post pandemic hacks that you can do with your child, how to engage them during the summer. So these are some of all the things we do. I'm just posting it in the chat link below. What you can do is take a moment and if it's YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and for Instagram and Facebook you could follow and that pages, so that you can be connected to us henceforth and getting further tips on all of this.
You can share that in, yeah. You have shared
Yeah.
it in the chat box. So Bhavna has shared it in the chat box, parents. You all can just take, I'll give you all 2 to 3 minutes before we start the question session. You could go to those. This is YouTube. Where is Facebook?
So, thank
So
you so much,
Bhavna,
ma'am.
sorry, yeah, Shiva.
Go ahead, ma'am, please.
So Bhavna is the tech expert. And knowing that I'm a grandmother, you'll all know that I am not so tech savvy. I can talk to parents about anything and everything, but
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you, Bhavna, also for coming in and taking a beautiful session. There are a lot of really good insights. Now, before we move on to the Q&A, I would just like to launch a poll to understand the pulse, the feedback from all our attendees, so that we can improve ourselves going forward and do sessions that actually matter and make a difference in their lives. So I'm just launching a poll. I request everyone to give your valuable feedback here. And whoever who wants to ask a question directly can raise your hand, and I'll move you to the panel so that you can talk to Ms. Kiranmai directly. So we have a few raised hands, ma'am. I'll just move Ashish Srivastava to the panel.
maybe you can just finish the poll and then
No, that'll be ongoing, ma'am. It'll be there, but they can ask. Yeah.
Done.
Ashish, if you can hear me, you can unmute yourself and ask a question. Ashish Srivastava.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Ashish.
Yeah, hi, ma'am. Yeah, so your session was really very good, and actually, I could relate to the story of Pooja. And coincidentally, this exactly the same thing has happened with my daughter when she was almost 2 years back. So I was actually relating everything as if it is the story of my daughter. So just
Okay.
trying to get her back to the new normal means all those things what you said about the screen addiction and all. She became introvert, probably not able to connect with us emotionally, and all those things. So I think you have given us very good tips, and definitely I would implement those things. I hope
Thank you,
she will
Ashish.
be, yeah. So it really helped,
And,
ma'am.
pardon?
It really helped your way of the way you have presented it.
Thank you.
But that has given me some ideas how to bring her back to the normal, what she was 2 years back.
Thank you so much, Ashish. That's I'm so humbled by that. And there'll be a puja and Raj, I think, in many of our houses, many of our friends and families' houses. So I hope this will help all the people. And there'll be so many other children also who have different problems. But I think taking this, hopefully, this will help you all to some extent. Like I said, 1 hour we cannot put in everything, but yeah.
Yes, thank you for that. Thanks for your contribution.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Ashish, for the wonderful feedback. We would go forward and do a lot of more sessions, topics related to this going forward. Now that we found a really good trainer and speaker with us, so I definitely come up with some new topics and sort of get this done in the year going forward. We'll get Jitendra Karambala to come in and ask a question. Jitendra, if you can listen to me, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, Jitendra. You have to unmute yourself, Jitendra. You're on mute.
I think he's inactive. We'll get the next person in. Nagesh, if you can hear me, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question. Nagesh K. No
I
response
think
from Nagesh.
not able to unmute themselves, Shiva.
No, they can unmute. I can also.
I'm unable to unmute. Anusha also said that.
Oh, is it? I can ask to unmute them, but I cannot. Okay.
None of them are able.
Druvang, if you're here, can you unmute yourself, Druvang?
Yes, okay. Now I
Hi,
can.
Dhruvan.
Hi, doctor. Thank you so much for your lovely session, and it was really, nice to know a lot of things that I was not knowing. I became a father almost 2 years back, and I was trying to learn a lot of things about the initial parenthood. But eventually, when my kid was born, and I had to started dealing with him, a lot of things went upside down. Like I tell you that my son is 1.5 years old, and he's a very active child, and he just wants to keep on roaming around the full house, uh, pulling down everything, the clothes that are kept at a place. He just pulls down my laptop, my books, and everything. So I don't know that how to develop more patience with him. Like, he is a child, and I will have to understand that he does not know anything. So it is very difficult for me to control him sometimes, since I am bit since I have got pretty angry over the last 2 years because of the pandemic. As we all of us were locked into our homes, I am an outgoing person, so I became very angry over these 2 or 3 years. So I don't like to channelize my anger on my son, but this is eventually happening, and I don't want to do it.
Okay. So, Dhruvan,
Yes.
I have a grandson who's 2+, I told you. So from the time he's 1.5, he used to, when I was there when he was around 11 till 11, he was 11 months old, I was there with him. And
Yes.
I had set up a learning corner for him and all that. So today, he messes up also. He takes out things, he plays, but he also puts them back. So we have to slowly train our children to do that. And that can be done from 1.5 years. I remember, leave my grandson aside, I'll tell you, in our school, we had a doctor whose 2 children were with us, 1.5 year and 2.5-year-old children.
Yeah.
Because we have an infancy group, so she had joined us. And because she was a doctor and working full-time, the children were with us full-time, from morning till evening. And this 1.5-year-old child's mother calls me and she says one day, "Madam, what are you doing in the school?" I got scared. I said, "What happened?" Sorry.
I guess
So
you should
my
have some
daughter,
water. I guess you should have some water. Sorry.
thank you. So I said, "What happened?" She said, "Ma'am, the child who used to throw things all over the house, today she takes one thing, comes, sits with it, does whatever she wants, goes, puts it back, and then gets another thing. So what the hell are you doing at school?" That child in school, we had even trained her on. After we had trained them. In fact, our 14 months old children also, we trained them on how to eat. So right from the beginning, even with my grandson, we did that. Train them how to eat. Show them how to. Let's say you want your children to pour. You won't allow your children to pour water, right? You'll say, no, you'll drop it.
Yes.
I will pour it for you. You
Yeah.
won't allow your children to take the curry because, you will spill. You'll drop everything. I will put the curry for you. But we have to teach them the skill of holding the spoon, putting it in and taking it. It doesn't matter. And that is the skill that we have to teach at home also. In school, in Montessori, as is the Montessori school, so all that is a part of our school. But at home, why can't we do it? My grandson is at home and we have taught him at home. He eats on his own. And he's been doing this from a very long time. So this child, she used to eat. After eating, we used to keep one napkin in the center, piping cloth. So she used to get us a dustpan and a brush, take out everything that had fallen around her tiffin, put it in the dustbin, come take that cloth, she used to wipe it, and then a 1.5-year-old child I'm talking about. So that way you have to train your children slowly. And when you give them buy a small dustpan, you get these small dustpan and brush. Imagine how wonderful your child would feel if she was cleaning up her mess with that. In fact, you could even tell her, please, I dropped this, can you please? She would love to do it.
Certainly.
And start from there, something interesting for her, and slowly she becomes more responsible. You say, can you help me to clear up? You could even fake it. Say your wife, or you could say, oh my God, my back is hurting, or my hands are hurting, legs are hurting, something. Can you help me to clean up this? Initially. Or shall we do it together? You could make it an exciting journey. Let's see how many things we're able to put into them. So there are different ways you can make it so interesting for a young child to want, because I'll tell you one thing, Dhruva. Children don't want to play. My guru, Glenn Dorman, I've been trained under Glenn Dorman at the Institutes for the Achievement of Human Potential in Philadelphia. And he says one thing so rightly. Children have a rage to learn. And children like to learn more than they like to play, more than they like to eat or sleep also. We think they want to play and we give them so many toys. Children don't want to play. They want to do things, they want to work. So that's why if you give them a bowl and spoon, they'll play with it more happily than if you give a toy. How long do they play with a toy? You tell.
Right.
Right? Yeah, and you say, oh, this toy, I bought this toy for 2,000 rupees and they didn't play at all. He's just played with 2 minutes and he threw it away. Because the child is using his 6 senses to get whatever he wants about. I'm just using this. And so what will he do? He'll look at the toy. That's why most of our toys are colorful. Then he will touch the toy. That's why most of our toys are have rounded edges. They don't have any sharp edges. Then what will he do next thing? You put it to the mouth, right? So he's tasting and smelling it. So that's why most of our toys are non-toxic. And we don't know how they taste, of course. And then
bang it.
Yeah. So all his 5 senses he's using to learn about this toy. How long does this whole thing take? 90 seconds, maximum, or 2 minutes. After that, he's done with the toy. He's learned everything he has to learn about the toy. He goes to something else. Unless you create a game with that, unless you create something else with that, he's done with it. And what do we say? Oh, this child has no concentration. He just stays 2 minutes and he wastes of my money. Then when he does that, what do we do? Oh, no, it'll break. But most of our toys, unfortunately, are unbreakable.
Understood. Yeah.
The child will play with a carton in which the packing of a toy more than he plays with the toy. Why? Because we don't tell him don't tear it. We say, okay, it's okay. He'll tear it out, not because he's destructive, because he's learning what is there. So everything is a learning experience for your child. So a child wants to work more than he wants to do anything else. Do not buy toys for your children, please, parents. Don't buy Barbies and Superman and this and that. Please, my sincere advice to you is do not buy toys. If you want to know what to buy, you can ask me. I will tell you. There are so many. I set up a learning center. I'll send you a picture of it later. I've set up a learning center with all beautiful things which children love, but they are learning. He's learning from it.
Even like my son does not, love to play with toys a lot. I have a lot of toys for him, but he does not really play with them. He actually, like I watch documentaries on National Geographic. I see the shows on animals, reptiles, and everything. He sits just near to me, and he watches that with me. So that is what I love about him.
And then you make use of that. You could buy more. I'm just giving some ideas here. I think there are a lot more people with questions. But anyway, this one thing I tell you, what we have done with my grandson also loves animals. So we have bought models of animals of different sizes. We have bought mothers and baby animals also. So he matches the mother with the baby. Then we have bought cards with it. So he matches the card with the thing. So that requires a lot of things. Do you know matching requires some intellect to be able to say, okay, this is zebra, where do you find the zebra card? So out of hundreds of things, then we play memory games. We have pairs, and the child has to pick up the pairs. So there are so many hundreds and thousands of activities. I'm telling you. I mean, if I sit down like this, I can go on for the next 10 hours also.
Of course. No, but thank you. Your information really answers a lot of questions that I have for my son.
Thank you.
Yep.
Most welcome. Divakar has a question here. He says, ma'am, I have one question. Nowadays, so many kids are spending more time in mobile phones. How to handle this to get out kids from mobile addiction? Okay. So, Divakar, first thing is, we made the mistake of putting the mobile into their hand. Okay. The mistake is made. Now, what do we do? If you tell a child, don't take the phone, child will definitely go to the phone. So if your child is going and going near a wire or something, you tell them no again and again, they'll go back. So the best thing to do is distract them by giving them something so interesting that they will not want to go there. We have had this. And we as parents also use that mobile as a convenience. Once I had a parent who had come for admission with her son, and I almost felt like telling, I don't want to give you, I don't want you to enter my son. The child was lying on the ground and hitting his head on the ground and crying. Immediately she took out the mobile and gave it to him and he calmed down and listened. So this is what we do for our convenience. We give them that. Instead of that, if you allow him to cry, and this he must be doing it at home also. That's why he did it at school there, knowing that the mother would be very, you know how we are. When we go out, we want our children to be well behaved. They don't behave well. What will people think? Actually, nobody thinks anything, frankly. And even if they think, is what people thinking more important, or that your child is behaving badly is one. If your child is behaving badly, address that, not what will people think. See, our thinking is also so, sadly, it's so misplaced. Our whole attention is on the wrong thing. I remember once I had there was this child who was around 2 years old. I had gone to their house, and as an education consultant, I used to go to children's house. And this lady was very excited. She said, ma'am, you know what? And that child used to come to school also. So she said, ma'am, you know what? She has learned so many shlokas. So he said, Charu, come here. Auntie ko shlokas bolo. The child, literally, I'm telling a parent, she turned away. Who am I for her? She just turned away and walked. And this parent was so, oh, stupid girl, she's not telling. Ma'am, she knows, ma'am, she's not telling. I said, relax, Neha. It is okay. See, why was that parent so upset? Not because the child did not tell. Because I will think that the child doesn't know. She actually knows. I said, it's okay, as long as you know the child knows. And why do you want to make a numayish of the child? And do you want to tell auntie is a different thing. Come and tell is a different thing. You're making your children into performing monkeys. Dugdigi bacha, salam karo saabko, everybody claps and we are very happy. We want our children to be like that. Come do a dance in front of everybody, they have to dance. Come and say this slokas, tell this poem, they have to come and do it. Even grown-up children, they're called and say, hey, do that dance step and show you know that dance. Why should they? Okay, if they are really interested, they do it. Would you like to show is a different thing. So our whole focus is very misplaced. So we have to focus on the right thing. What is the right thing to be concerned about is that my child is behaving badly, that my child is not able to maybe recognize certain things, maybe my child is not able to do these things, which at this age, and then you look at what can I do. You accept it and then look at what you can do. So with the mobile also, you have to move the child. Don't pull him away from that, but do. Suppose the child is not coming when you offer. You sit down, maybe you could take out a puzzle and do it. Oh, hey, where will this go? 2-3 times you sit beside him and do, he will only turn and say, this is here. Maybe he would pick up something he knows how to do. He will come and put it there. And he'll say, wow, Rahul, you're so good. Wow, Ayan, you did it. Can you help me with that other puzzle also? Why would the child go to that? Because he's having a living interaction with his parent. If we are spending time with him, he's not going to be bothered about mobiles. Slowly. I'm not saying today, immediately, the minute you bring a puzzle, he's going to be off mobile. No. It's over a period of time, he's developed that addiction, which will take time to go. Yeah? Yeah. Anybody else? I hope that answers your question, Divakar.
Oh, that's Dhruva. Yeah.
Okay. Dhruva. Okay. There are 2 more questions on the Q&A.
Yes. We'll take one live question, ma'am, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So, Sanya, if you can hear me, you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Yeah, sure. Hi, ma'am. The session was so good. Thank you for this. Actually, my question is we as parents, like me and my hubby, both of us were brought up in a village, but we were fortunate enough that our parents put in into some music classes. Like both of us were into piano classes, but then we have the feeling now that we weren't able to master it. Okay, so now that my question is, we have a son who is 4 years old, and we want him to practice a music or a sport, but not sure what we can put him into. And like Bhavna said, I don't want to overload him also. So how do we take it? Like, can we put him in a session now itself, or observe him for some time and then put him into something? Because we are even afraid that we have to give him the opportunity to learn, but at the same time, we are confused. We shouldn't be burdening him also on the long run. So
How
how
old did
can
you say he
we?
is, Sanya? How old did you say he is?
He's 4 years old, and this June he would be joining school.
Okay, got that. So, okay, Sanya, you learned the keyboard. What did you learn?
Yeah, very basics. I can. And that's what I'm telling.
Okay,
We were.
got that. So, no, you learned the
I
keyboard,
could
right?
read
And your
notes.
husband learned the keyboard.
Yeah.
So, why did you learn it? You wanted to become professionals in it?
No. There were so many kids playing in the church, and even I loved seeing that. So, but
So, you
I
know,
was not the one who questioned my parents, but they put me into that, and I was happy with it. So we continued learning, but we couldn't master it anyways because we had less exposure there. We couldn't master it.
okay. So, my question to you is it compulsory to master everything that we learn?
No, I definitely tell it's not necessary to master it. But after so much that we have grown up now, I have a feeling that uh, we were jack of all trades but master of none. It is like that. There are so many things that one person could master, and I always had that feeling we could have done it because I learned Bharatanatyam a little bit, music a little. Then we had so many things, but everything part by part. So
Got that.
I thought I could give something to him. I mean,
Yes,
to my son, which he can
okay, let me
maybe.
try to answer that, Sanya.
Okay, okay,
Let me first address your concern about yourself that you only learned it superficially. You know, my
okay,
mother is today; she's 81,
okay.
dementia patient, a paralytic patient. But when she was, I think, 25 years ago, when she was what 55,
Mm.
55, she had cancer, and we had thought we'd lose her. That is when she took back to her old passion of painting, and she's done masterpieces which people have said they will spend any amount in dollars to buy, which she never sold, of course.
Oh,
She
great.
learned the keyboard, which she has always wanted to. She used to play beautifully. Then
Okay.
she learned so many things. She said, I want to do everything that I have wanted to do in my life. At that stage, because I might die, and before I die, I want to do all these things.
Okay, okay.
She was excellent at photography, at gardening. So she did everything she could, and there is no age to it. So even now you can do it. If you feel that you would like to still learn it better, maybe not master it, but maybe you want to become better at the keyboard, you can still learn it. So that you're at peace that yes, I could achieve this much. Whatever you want to achieve, there's no set benchmark that you have to learn so much. So whatever you want to achieve, that is about you and your husband, whoever wants to learn.
Okay.
Secondly, coming to your son, when the children are young, we give them a buffet. In school, why do we have all the subjects? You have English, math, science, social, history. In social, also we have history, geography, civics. Why do we have all that? Because we are exposing our children to a buffet, everything. Then later, when they go to college, they choose a few from that. Then when they go for undergrad, they choose a few more from a little less than that. When they go for masters, so that is you are getting specialized as you go ahead. So here, when the children are young, you have to give them a buffet.
Okay.
So give them a buffet. You could introduce him to the keyboard. No harm in that. And if he likes it, go ahead. If he doesn't like it, it is okay. It's okay. See, we say do what you love to do, right?
Exactly.
But
That's what I'm telling. I don't want to
tests,
burden him with something that he doesn't like. So
don't look at it like a burden also, Sanya.
Right.
You ask him, maybe if you have a keyboard at home, show him a few simple things. And if he seems interested, take him to a class. You ask him, would you like to join a class? He might say yes today. And after going to a class, he might decide, no, I don't want to go. Because my children love cricket, like I told you. But when I sent them for cricket classes, they said no. You know why? Because they didn't want to do it in a disciplined way. They just wanted to play.
Okay.
So sometimes children, and it's okay, because why are we making them do these for pleasure?
Right.
For pressure. And we start putting pressure on them even for the hobbies. When it's a hobby, usually we do it because we love it. Now, if we no longer love it, it's okay to leave it aside, right?
Okay, yeah. That's right.
I hope I could.
Yes, it did. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, ma'am, for the lovely
Thank-
answer.
Thank
We'll
you,
take
Shiva.
another question from Himanshu Grover. Himanshu, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself and you can ask.
Hi, Himanshu.
Hi. Sorry, I joined the session a bit late, but I was very impressed with the last 35 minutes. I'm really very impressed with you. I just have a question. My son is 5 plus, and at times he's very adamant. I don't know for what reasons. He becomes very adamant. And I don't think that's the right age for him. So I become very strict with him and give him some lessons or something like that. I try to be polite with him, try to understand why he becomes adamant, but sometimes he's adamant. He doesn't
I
want to go.
couldn't
Even
get your
I
last
say,
sentence, Himanshu. That last sentence, there was a break in your voice.
okay, I said at times I feel I should be strict with him, but I restrict myself. I talk to him politely. I discuss with him politely, tell him politely, but at times he becomes very adamant
Okay. Inside you're
on
boiling, is it?
very small things. On a very small things. Suppose you ask him, we have to go to a market. He'll say, "You go, I'll not go." I'll not go means I'll not go.
When you have to go where?
Anywhere. Even if you say you have to go to a market,
Market.
yeah, he'll say, "No, I'll not go."
Okay. So what does it matter if he doesn't go?
No, it doesn't matter. But ultimately, you need to understand why is he behaving so adamant at times.
Okay, let me tell you one thing, Himanshu. Here, what I have noticed many of us parents do is on things which are not so important, we should let go. Then the children will listen to us when things that are important to us, when we're talking to them. If we are telling them, do this and don't do this for everything, you have to do this, you have to come. Why are you saying no? If you get into an argument with them, if you get into a discussion with them for every small thing, they will stop listening to it. There is something called, children have this capability of switching off. So what I was saying is, they don't do this, but mentally they switch off.
Mentally, they do it.
Mentally, they do it a lot. They have an amazing capacity. I remember when we were young, my sister and I, we had an aunt who used to keep on, kya ye nahi karte, wo nahi karte. We used to continue to do it. Was as if it was on deaf ears. And literally we could not, we had stopped listening to her because constantly she would tell us what to do, what not to do. So that is one thing we should not. Another thing is, let's say something is important to you, very, very important. Then you must make it a point to sit down and talk to each other. But let's say you said coming to the market. If he says no, oh, you don't want to come, okay. How would that be? He will be like, oh, everything is not such a big deal. Other than, my daddy to har cheez ko itna bada batangad banate. Most people feel like that. Mummy to har cheez ka ek bada drama karti hai. Many children feel like that. Why? Because we do it. We make a batangad out of everything. We make a drama out of everything. Oh, you don't want to come with me. Oh, this, that. Yeah? So, if we can let go of things which do not matter, when it matters, they will actually listen to you. They will understand where you are coming from. Otherwise, they'll think, he's like that only. He's so particular about everything. So, why do I need to listen to him? So, only what matters is when you have to. Only what will harm. Suppose he's trying to do something which will harm him. Definitely you have to stop. You can't say, okay, let him do. I will allow it. Yeah. So focus on what is important. Not only to you, but generally what is important.
Generally, yes.
Because sometimes for us, everything is important. Like for my mother, if I kept a cup here, oh, this cup is kept here. Why is this cup kept here? That is also important. My children used to go to the house and they sleep and get up. Immediately, the minute you get up, you should fold your sheet. Otherwise, no, you have to come. So they stop listening to her. So you have to look at toning down yourself, controlling yourself. And another thing is, if you are angry with him, you said you were angry with him, but you tried to be nice. You want to be strict. There's a difference between strictness and firmness, parents. You be strict is not a very nice thing. Strict comes out of anger, out of some, but being firm comes out of conviction, out of knowing that is good for your child. So be firm with your child, not strict. One thing. Yeah.
Okay.
And another thing is, when you are being firm also, if you're feeling angry, you let that emotion be known. That I'm getting irritated, I'm getting angry. It's okay. You're also a human being. You're not some angel or some god. Let them know it is okay to feel negative emotions also, because when we say we cover up our anger, it's boiling inside. And it'll come out in some way or the other. Same thing happens with children. Children also learn to control even if they hate you at that minute for something, they will not show it. Even if they are so angry with you, they'll not show it. But ultimately, it will boil up and come out as a volcano. It will erupt at some other place, some other time. So don't let it bottle up. Let the feelings come out. Say, I am getting angry because you said no, but I would like to know, why did you say no? Maybe you could ask. 5 years is old enough to understand. In fact, a 3-year-old. Pardon?
I said he is very, very old enough to understand all this.
No, that's
He'll
what I'm
answer
saying.
very
3 years is old enough to understand. Even a 3-year-old child can understand all this.
Correct.
Children are much
Thank you so much.
than everything. You're most welcome.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for being so patient and answering all the questions.
Yeah,
in the interest
so I
of
think
time.
I have one thing to say. There are a lot of questions in the chat.
Yes, that was I was mentioning, that people can write to me their queries. For people who couldn't get their questions answered, they can write to me on the email ID here. I will forward them to you and get them answered and put the responses back.
Another thing I would suggest is, Bhavna, would you like to just make that? See, what happened is, parents, you are the chosen ones, because the happy family, everything we have started from today, we are giving access to everybody. We have not given access to anybody so far. I know there are no videos and posts because we have just launched it and we decided to give you all the opportunity. And the same thing we have done is, for this group, we have started a WhatsApp group. Bhavna will put I know a lot of you have questions and which have not got answered. So you could join the WhatsApp group, ask your questions there. And what will happen is, every weekend, I will answer one of those questions which is most commonly asked, 1 or 2 questions, depending on the time it takes to answer those questions. Yeah, shall we do that? So Bhavna, could you put that in the group? And I would like to know these questions, how to make children more active, who's not active. 7 year. So Sugandha, Suman, Jitendra, all these people, you can put your questions in the WhatsApp group and I will be answering them.
Yeah. Just to mention that this group is specifically for those who have attended the session today.
Yeah, only
we'll be taking your questions. We'll be opening the chat every day only for the questions. So please do post your questions, and every week we'll take time in answering the questions. To what are you asking? We'll pick the most frequently asked questions. Like, our priority goes most frequently asked. That's how we'll pick the questions and answer. This is how we want to build a relationship with you forever. Like we said, creating a bond that lasts forever is our happy family motto. And we begin that by doing it with you. So please post your questions. I know a lot of you have questions to ask. Post the questions and we'll stay connected with you. And of course, Shiva is also there to connect us, like he mentioned.
Yes.
So there is Bhavna has put the WhatsApp link in the chat box. You can just go join that. And thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. I want to thank the Ethika group, Rajesh and Shiva for coordinating this whole thing. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I don't know many companies which would go all out and do things for their clients this way. And I'm so grateful to you all for connecting me to these parents who are so interested in their children. Everybody's interested, but everybody's not interested in attending a session and knowing more about it. Thank you so much, parents. Hats off to you all for your love and commitment. And we'll stay connected, and I'll try to add more value to all of your lives and your children's lives through you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks once again for coming in and doing this session for us. Thank you, Bhavna, for also for a lot of your inputs as well. I hope a lot of people come in and join this group and get their doubts cleared and have build that bond with their kids. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining in today. We'll meet again in the next session. Next Friday will be there will be no session due to a holiday. We'll join back again on the 21st of April.
Ashish, Ratna, Divak, everybody, thank you so much for attending session, listening to me, because if you didn't listen, I would have talked to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.